Fantasy Football Show as we look forward to game week 11, a week after overhaul, and we've already had questions on whether people are moving on or moving out, especially some of these high ownership players that didn't really do very well last week. So we're going to take a look at that ahead of tonight's first match of the game week, which is West Ham's second match of the week after their abysmal showing at home to Brentford on Monday. They visit Ellen Road to play Leeds tonight, so we'll be getting team news from that. If anybody's in the chat, hello Windy, hello Harry, hello John Boy. If anybody gets the West Ham versus Leeds team news, if you can drop it in, I can read it out. If we don't, then I'll just find it on my phone when we get a bit further down the show. So we're going to have a look at the team, and after the early shenanigans with Forest versus Chelsea's lineup last Saturday lunchtime, it was a little bit different than what we previewed this time last week. But hey ho, so we'll have a run through of that. We'll have a look at how the points were scored. Spoiler alert, I did really well on Saturday, less well on Sunday and Monday, and I have a feeling that's a story well told throughout everybody that's playing the game. We'll have a look at the match centres and see where those points were scored during last weekend. We'll have a look at the leaderboard, see who's at the top. I've had a question on transfer counts, so we've had a look and seen how it compares this year to last year. It's not a direct comparison because we didn't do it in overhaul in October, but we'll have a look and see how they pan out. We've got some other questions we're going to have a look through. Do that as part of when we have a look through the transfer planner charts, and then we've got the game week preview odds from Rob T. So without further ado, let's bring up the team, and then we can see where the changes were made last Saturday. So this is the team as was selected. We have Pope in goal, Timber, Saliba, Chalobah, Gabriel and Munoz in defence, Semenyo, Undai and Paquetá in midfield, and Haaland and Salah up front. And there are some changes from what I previewed last week. Originally we were going to have either Caicedo or Enzo. Bowen was going to be playing, and the plan was to have Tosin in defence if he was available. But as we found out, Tosin, Caicedo and Enzo, none of them played. Two were benched and came on. Enzo didn't play but did play in midweek. So we ended up with a bit of a change around. There was a midfield spot that opened up for Paquetá, so I picked him instead of Bowen, which meant we could get three Arsenal defenders, which worked out for the best. One of the best scores I saw this week was from David. He had all five Arsenal defenders last week, so he had the keeper and the four actual defenders. So the points that were actually scored by me, Pope in goal, they lost 2-1 at Brighton, so they didn't even get save points. The three Arsenal defenders, Saliba got passes, Gabriel got, I think, a pass and an assist, Timber just the clean sheet. Chalobah with passing and a clean sheet for Chelsea. Munoz, no clean sheet. In fact, they let in 3, but a couple of assists, I think tackle points. Semenyo, not much in this game, even though he did get an assist in the other game that people play. Undai, who I thought was very good. I saw extended highlights of their game in Manchester City. I thought it was very good. He ended up with shots and tackle bonus. Paquetá, who was absolutely abysmal for West Ham. He wasn't the only one. I think they all were on Monday. Haaland was captain on Saturday. He scored a couple, did well. And then Salah wasn't very good against Manchester United, nor were Liverpool, in all honesty. He ended up getting dropped on Wednesday for their Champions League game. So yeah, all in all, not that great. Let's have a look then at the match centres. Just going to make this a little bit bigger and fill the screen up. Yeah, there we go. So the line at the cause of all the trouble was Nottingham Forest against Chelsea. Chelsea ran out easy winners in Angie's last game. Goal scorers were Achiampong, Pedro Neto and Reece James. And there were no Tier 3 points in that game at all. Brighton won, Brighton 2, Newcastle 1, Welbeck with both goals for Brighton and Voltemade with a goal for Newcastle. Only Tier 3s available there was Minter with the tackles. Burnley 2, Leeds 0. Goal scorers for Ugochukwu and Chuana for Burnley. Tier 3s all on the Leeds side. Sturridge, Rodon with the passes and Ampadu with the tackles. Crystal Palace 3, Bournemouth 3. I saw extended highlights of this as well. A very, very attractive game for the football fan. End-to-end stuff, lots of chances. Mateta had something like 4xG, something like that. Crazy. He scored all 3 of Palace's goals, a late penalty to seal the draw, and even missed the chance after that to win the game. For Bournemouth, El Kroupi, who was in for the injured Evan Nielsen, scored twice, and Christie, who he thought had got the late winner. Tier 3s, Munoz, 1 assist and Tier 3 tackles. Mateta, 3 goals. He's going to have Tier 3 shots. He had 5 shots in the end. And for Bournemouth, Adams with the tackles. Fulham 0, Arsenal 1. This was the tea time kick-off last week. Goal scorer for Arsenal was Trossard. Saliba was the only one with Tier 3 with the passes. And aside there, I was surprised he was lower owned than Gabriel. I mean, Timber has been highly owned because he's a lot cheaper. But yeah, I was surprised that Saliba and Gabriel, the same price. Saliba was under owned than Gabriel. And Sunday games, Tottenham 1, Aston Villa 2. Goal scorers for Tottenham was Bentancur. Villa 2 crackerjack goals there for Rodgers and Buendia. And the only person that was into Tier 3s was Paulinho with 10 tackles for just a measly extra 3 points, I'm afraid, Joe, but that's the way the game plays. Then we had the Liverpool versus Manchester United. Liverpool goal scorers was Gakpo, Mbeumo and Maguire for Manchester United, and the only Tier 3 in the game was Lamans in goal with 5 saves. And then Monday Night Football, which was absolutely terrible from West Ham. Brentford played well, but God, they were allowed to play well. Goal scorers were Thiago, who I noticed a few Shrewdies had in as a captain. He had 10 points, obviously doubled up to 20, and he was the only Tier 3 there with the shots. And there was an offside goal as well, I think, which was fairly close. Was it something like a heel? But yeah, West Ham weren't very good. Let's hope they're a bit better today. Just I'm going to look in the chat. So Dave's in. He says, evening down here today, Dorset. Hope this weekend's games warms us up. Put another bar on the fire, Dave says, Windy. Well, I'm in the sort of the outside office here today. I've been working out here today. I even had first time, not this year, but this autumn, I've had the stove on. It was that cold first thing this morning, about 3.5 degrees when I got in here early on, about 8 o'clock this morning. Yeah, had to put the stove on. It was all right by about 10 o'clock, and it's okay now. John Boy's just put the Leeds team in the chat. We've got Perry in goal, Bogle, Rodon, Biol, Goodmanson, Longstaff, Ampadu, Tanaka, Aronson, Calvert-Lewin and Okafor. And for West Ham, Areola, Wan-Bissaka, Todibo, Kilman, Diouf, Soucek, Scholes, Bowen, Irving, Somerville and Paquetá. And now that looks very similar to the rubbish that was put out last week, John. Let's hope they do a bit better. I somehow have my doubts. I think if I was a betting man, and sometimes I am, but not Not on Leeds v West Ham so much, but I think Leeds would be favoured for the win today. So let's have a look at the leaderboard. So there's my rank, 101st. So from 153rd this time last week to 101st, I was doing okay. Went up, I think it was 93rd was the highest I got last week after Saturday. After Saturday. Sunday and Monday dragged it back. So Gary Robbins at the top, 790. He's got a 26-point lead there over John Jacobs in second. Colin Wilson third. Duncan Bailey in fourth. Aaron Smith in fifth. Alex with Fortuna Muckledorf in sixth was 733. Tony Davis in seventh, 726. Owen Morn with Zuby Dooby Doo, 721. Salvatore Di Gennaro with Giawa, 720. And then Martin Brown rounding out the top 10 with allotment 11, 716 points. Well done to all of those. I know it's a little bit further down the leaderboard, a couple of names from other games that we play. So Johnny Curry is in 13th at the minute, and he has picked Thiago as his captain on Monday, and I imagine, because he's got Calvert-Lewin in his team and no West Ham players, will be on Calvert-Lewin as captain today. And I noticed Paul McNulty replied back to the transfer count tweet. He's in 42nd with 48 transfers in hand, so well done, Paul. Very funny, Dave. Thank you very much. He says, blimey in, I'd be in thermals. Thanks for the commitment to the cloud cause. Well, yeah, we're all here for a good reason, and we all enjoy the game, so it's all part of what I like to do. So let's have a look at these transfer counts. And I picked this up, something I put out on socials earlier this week. So the transfer counts remaining, this is at the bottom of the screen that you can see, so 25, 26, we'll go through those first, and I'll refer back to a bit of work I did from last year's. So in the top 100, remaining transfers this year are 41.8 currently. In the top 50 is 41.1, and in the top 10 is 33.2. And we see the allocation there's 50. Obviously, this is the Cloud, the Sky game with 50. When we were playing under the TFF rules and their game engine last year, it was only 40. So percentage of transfers used after 8 fixture rounds. Top 100, 16%. Top 50, 17.8. And the top 10, 33.6%. So over a third of their transfer of allocation has already been used. So the pro rata numbers I've put to the right there is how many you should be using if you're using them as an even number per game week. And those at the top 10 are already 12 behind on the percentage of what they should have used. Top 50 and top 100, sort of 3 and 4% to the good. And the amount left per game week for these guys to use. So the top 100 have got nearly 1.4 per week to use. The top 50, 1.37. And the top 10, 1.11. Which is still more than enough. We used to work on like an average of 1 per week. That was the halcyon days of the Sky game. That's how it used to be played. So these guys have still got more than enough in hand, but we all know that when we come to the second half of the season, when sort of 2 for 1s, 3 for 1s, 4 for 1s, 5 for 1s, and more come into vogue, very little of that happens between now and Christmas. You will get a 2 for 1, you'll get a 2 for 0, but you won't get a lot of them, and you won't get a lot that don't revert back before Christmas, because that's just the way the game is played. If somebody's playing Monday, Friday, as West Ham are this time, you can make a gain and you can ship off, but West Ham will come back and they'll have their games later in the season as well. So I always say there's no such thing as too many transfers left at the end of the season, and that will probably be the case in this type of game forevermore. But we had a look and seen how many transfers were used in last season's game, and the earliest that we did the calculation was just in December, so after 18 fixture rounds. So it's not quite the same comparison, but the percentage is going to be similar. So the top 100 in December last year had 25.5 remaining out of 40, so they'd used 36%. Then the top 50 and the top 10, 24.7 and 24.2 respectively. So they'd use 38.38 and a quarter and 39.5% of their transfers. So the pro ratas there, they were much further into the green than what we're seeing this year. So even the lowest number, they were nearly 8% better off saving their transfers for the second half of the season. And you can see there on the right hand side of the screen, those in the top 100 got 1.28 left, those in the top 50 got 1.24, and those in the top 10 have got 1.21. Obviously the numbers a little bit lower because we only had 25% less transfers as an overall allocation in the TFF understandings. So it's interesting to see. I think there's a few gone off sharp at the start. The allure of the top of Christmas Day prize is probably taking some of these guys on. We know the likes of Duncan Bailey, who sort of play the game this way all of the time, like to get ahead of the field and then normally get brought back. So be interesting to see. I mean, we're going to be sending these out every week, and I'll do some bits and pieces on these. I mean, I'm not looking so much detail every time we do a transfer count, but it's interesting to see maybe when we get into December after the last international break of the season, especially when we get to around the same game week, so after game week 18, we'll have an accurate number. To see how things, the lie of the land is then. So some guys asked to see the numbers, and I just thought it'd be interesting to take a look through. And as I say, it'd be interesting, certainly for me, to see how they look in a few game weeks' time compared to this time last season. So let's get into some questions, and then I'm going to bring up the... Yeah, here we are. This is so my season plan for moving forward. You can see my team there on the left-hand side now, still with 45 transfers left. So Pope, Gabriel, Saliba, Timber, Chalobah, Munoz. Then Semenyo and Ndiaye, Paquetá, with Salah and Haaland up front, and the captaincies were Haaland, Salah and Paquetá. You can see I've got Paquetá captain tonight. And then there's a planned move, and this is... We had a couple of questions. So from Cloud FF Loser, who would be your favourite Bowen replacements following Friday night? Salah out of form, too early to jump on Bruno. Saka the obvious choice over Gyökeres, or does Isak's injury make Ekitike an attractive option? And then from Aaron, on a similar but more broader field, is it a case of moving on after tonight or tempted to hold for the Burnley game? And this is sort of for all West Ham players. Arsenal and Chelsea have some good fixtures before then and the same day. So let's have a look at the calendar. And as Aaron says, we've got West Ham here, so playing Leeds, then Newcastle, and then Burnley, and that's Saturday the 8th. So if you're after a gain and you want to go to Arsenal, well, they're playing the same day there, and Chelsea, they're playing the same day there as well. So if you do want that fixture gain, Aaron, I think, and well, a lot's going to depend on exactly how West Ham do today. If they perform well, say Bowen scores 2 or 3 goals, they look a lot better than they did on Monday, you might want to keep him. If he doesn't do very well, then there's definitely a good narrative building there to move him out. And whether you want to move to Manchester United or whether you want to move to Arsenal, because they're definitely sort of the attractive teams with that kind of sort of key midfielder, 11.5 striker option that you can move to. we all know, because we discussed it last week, when we get to Monday the 24th of November, Manchester United play Everton, and then they go on a run of Crystal Palace away, followed by green fixtures, so single game days against West Ham and Wolves and Bournemouth. So I think, as we discussed then, we're going to want some Manchester United coverage. So I think if I was a Bowen owner and he doesn't play very well today, I'd be tempting to move to Saka, I think, for these fixtures. You've got Crystal Palace, obviously, on Sunday, Burnley away the following Saturday, Sunderland away the following Saturday, and then a North London derby on the 23rd, and then you're in prime position to move to your Manchester United player of choice, whether that be Bruno, whether it be Mbeumo, whether it be Sesko, whether it be Cunha, and then you've got all of these fixtures there: Everton, Palace, West Ham, Wolves, Bournemouth and Villa, before we know when the Christmas set fixtures land. But you could move off if you wanted to. Well, you've got 4 out of 5 green fixtures there, so you're definitely going to want some Manchester United coverage for those. So that would be my answer there. And then we had a question from John Boy. In fact, we had 3. So I'm going to answer these in sort of reverse order, John. So what are the total number of players active and non-active in the Cloudy Sky game? So we had about 800 people that signed up at the start of the year. We think we had about 700 to 750 actual teams. How many are still active is difficult to ascertain from what we can see at our end. But anybody that's still got Palmer after overhaul, I would probably consider to be inactive, and there's about 12% ownership. So I think there's your probable numbers there. And then John also asks, who is the best captaincy choice for the 25th? So let's have a look and see who's playing on the 25th. We have Chelsea against Sunderland, Newcastle against Fulham, both of which you can see the lineups for because the TV fixtures are later that day. Manchester United against Brighton, and then Brentford against Liverpool. And as you can see from my sheet, I have Chalobah as captain, and that is because if he's playing, I think he'll get passing bonus. The Chelsea are second favourites for clean sheets this week after Arsenal. I think they're about 47% or so. And if he's playing, I think get passing bonus. He's always an attacking threat from a set piece. And that is who I would go for. I've also planned to bring in Enzo for Paquetá. The reason being, as discussed, sort of in a few groups and chats, when I knew that Enzo wasn't playing last Saturday, the move was made to have Paquetá with 0.5 in the bank ready for this moment tomorrow, to bring him in, assuming he starts. Now, there is a case to say that if he's on penalties and playing an attacking role, he could be a captain as well. It remains to see what the lineup is, but if Chalobah's playing and it looks like Chelsea are going to keep clean and he's going to get passing, then I think that's a good start. It could be that Enzo gets the armband, and that will be a decision to be made tomorrow. So I'm going to have a look through then at some charts now, because we've got a question from... Well, John's third question was, if Gabriel is not in the Arsenal squad on Sunday, would you be tempted to move on to another Arsenal player? Personally, no, because I don't necessarily want to move away from Gabriel. It doesn't sound as if it's a serious injury, even if he is injured. I wouldn't want to use a transfer on that move. I'd rather keep him. And then a question from Dan. We'll get to this when we look at the ownership charts. Which players do I think are going under the radar? Well, when we have a look at the ownerships, we'll be able to see there in detail and see if there are anybody. John Boy's just put in the chat, he's going to have Chalobah and Enzo, so still thinking who's captain. Favour Enzo if he starts. I think a lot will depend on the positioning for me, John. If he looks like he's going to be getting forward, then possibly. If he's more of a 6-8 combo, then maybe less so. We shall see with the lineup tomorrow. But yeah, I'm glad you got them both. I think I'm going to have them both, and hopefully we'll both do okay out of it. So let's have a look at, this is the overall points. So Haaland and Semenyo still at the top. Timber now in third place on 63. Then we go through Gabriel at 59. Rufs, Caicedo, Pope, Calafiore, Mateta, Munoz, Raya, Gehi, Chalobah, Anthony, Mitchell, Saliba, Thiago, Enzo, Undai, Ruben Dias, Polinia, Alderete, Kudos, Vicario and Gakpo. And they round up between 4th and 25th. There's only, 17 points between them all. These are the points per 90. Haaland still top of the shop. The one sticking his nose out again is Timber, now in third at 9.2. Chalobah at 8.2 and Saliba at 8.82. Ownerships. So Haaland has actually gone down in ownership since Saturday. There's a lot of people, we think, sort of reading the tea leaves, as it were, that went from Haaland to Salah as captain on Sunday, and they might do the reverse again on Sunday coming, because obviously Salah plays Sunday, Saturday, and then Haaland was Saturday and then Sunday. So you get the 2 for 0 there. And then these are the points per million. So again, those sticking the nose up further down the field. Roofs 8.64, Semenyo 8.45. Then a bit further down, Anthony 7.69 and Alderete 7.21. Look at the tier points. Not much change here really since last week, because Caicedo sort of only came on at half time and didn't really add to his. Anderson didn't really do much in their game. So 23 and 22. Then the rest between Haaland at 17 and Szoboszlai at 12. Then we've got ownership charts. So this is the overall ownership now in the top 100. And we'll see if we can pick out a few sort of under the radars for Dan. So at the top, Semenyo and Haaland, they're at 96 and 95. In the 70s, we've got Timber and Bowen. In the 50s, Salah, Gabriel and Undai. 40s, Chalobah and Raya. And then the 30s, Munoz, Paquetá, Pope. 20s, Calafiore, Sarr, Gehi, Saka, Kudos and Saliba. Then the teens, high teens at Van de Ven, Cucurella, João Pedro, Voltemade, Caicedo, Virgil and Reinders, who is rounding out the top 25 at 11. So I think looking at it overall, Voltemade looks undervalued there at 15. And if we have a look here at by position, so the goalkeepers is pretty much a 2-horse race at the top there, Raya and Pope. Those that have got Roofs are only 5 in 100. We've done well so far. Whether he can keep that up, but he's cheap. So I'm not convinced there's an under the radar keeper, Dan, is my honest answer there. Defenders, so Timber's at the top there, 79, Gabriel 51, Chalobah 46, Munoz 37, Calafiore 29, Gehi 26, Saliba 21, then the teens, we've got Van de Ven, Cucurella, Virgil, then the rest are all very lowly owned there. So Romero, who was obviously injured, but still 5% of teams. Gvardiol's the one that might he might come out from under the radar, Dan, I think, maybe as the season goes on. City have looked better, and at 3% ownership, I know he's quite expensive, but if we're not going to have the likes of Salah taking up budget in our teams, then there might be more money to go around elsewhere. So midfielders, Semenyo way out in front at 96, and then we've got Ndai, Paquetá, Sarr, Saka, Kudus, Caicedo. Now, you can't call him under the radar at 13%, but he's definitely one that's going to be going up. Reinders, I think, will probably drop off. He seems to be getting less favoured now by City. And if their attacking talent come back, Marmoush isn't far away, nor's Cherki, then I think he'll drop back into a more defensive position as well. Xhaka at 9. Rice is definitely one that looks like he might be under the radar at 8. If he's going to play every game, get some attacking returns, get on these tier points. And then Bruno Fernandes at 7 is definitely one that might be being brought in for those that have got Bowen, which remains to be seen. Polina, well, if he's going to get 10 tackles a game, he's certainly going to be doing okay. Yeah, so there's a few there down to look at in the midfield slots. Then strikers, I mean, it's fairly clear-cut who people have got the minute. Haaland, Bowen and Salah. I think Salah's going to be sold unless he does something. He was rested again, as we said, in midweek. João Pedro, difficult to know. I mean, Chelsea have got great fixtures. Whether he's the best asset or not is difficult to know. Voltemade, I think, with Vissa being injured still after the next international break, I think it's going to go well. So, yeah, 15%, you wouldn't call him under the radar, but he's certainly not at the top of the radar. Thiago at 6, I think, is a good pickup for those that have got him so far. I mean, Gyökeres, he scored twice in midweek, could be the one, 3%. Isak, 3%. Ekiteke, 2%. I mean, you'd think, if we look at these fixtures again, just going to move this back. If we have a look here, so when we get to November the 30th, I think that's one of the 2 o'clock games, or 2:05 or something. Yeah, Man United at Palace is the early kickoff. And then we've got Liverpool play 2:05, I think. They've got West Ham, Sunderland, Leeds, Brighton, Tottenham, Wolves, Leeds, Fulham. I mean, that's a good run. I think they're definitely going to want some Liverpool coverage there. It won't be Salah because he's away at the AFCON. So maybe Ekiteke at 10.5, Isak 11.5. Definitely some options there. I'm not saying get them now, but get them at the end of next month after the international break as well. So you know these guys are going to be fit. Even better. So then we have a look at the passes. So these are the guys that have been making sort of the tier points per 90, as it were. So Saliba and Tosin, they're your greens for passes. A few there on orange. For shots, Haaland and Mateta, both in the orange, nobody in the green. Tackles, Palhinha, well, no surprise, after 10 he's shot up into the green. Florentino, the guy we spoke about last week at Fulham, still very close at 4.9. Then a fair few there in the orange. And then the saves. So I'll just move that along to the chart. So Dubravka and Lamans in the orange. Then we've got Trafford, Sells. Well, Trafford's not even playing now. Sells, Ruths, Areola, Vicario and Mamardashvili in the yellow. And that's about it. There's nobody else doing much. So this clean sheets really is what you want for your keepers. But as we've discussed previously, it's probably a case of your keeper's your last choice. And once you pick one now, you're not really changing it unless it's of... maybe two captaincies in a week as a move to somewhere else or after an injury. But yeah. So hopefully this answered everybody's questions. And we'll have a quick game week preview using Rob T's graphics. So tonight's game is Leeds against West Ham. So Leeds 1.54 predicted goals. West Ham 0.96. Well, they're going to need to improve to get anywhere close to 0.96, I imagine. Clean sheet percentage, just over a third for Leeds, 1 in 5 for West Ham. So maybe something like a 2-1 for Leeds. Those that have got Calvert-Lewin, Johnny Curry, we're looking at you. Maybe he is your man. I hope for those that have got West Ham assets that something actually good happens. I fear the worst, but we shall see. Saturday, Chelsea, they're 2.12 against Sunderland, 0.77, 46% chance of a clean sheet. So maybe something like 2-0. Yeah, if 2-0 comes true, then Chalobah, it could be a 20-point captain. But Enzo could be, 2 goals, 2 shots on target. Could be even more than that. So, we'll see on the lineup, John Boy, and see how we go. Newcastle 1.77 against Fulham 0.91. Newcastle good at home. Fulham been poor on the last 3. I can see this being something like a 2-1. Those who've got Walter Marder, I think, will probably get a goal there. He looks to be playing very well for Newcastle, especially at home. Manchester United against Brighton. This is the tea time kickoff. Manchester United down at 1.86. I mean, Brighton played well against Newcastle last week. Manchester United, they beat Liverpool. Can they back it up? We shall see. They probably will. And looking at that 2-1, Manchester United seems about right. So it could be those that want to go for Bruno, pictured on Rob's thumbnail there. Yeah, maybe he is the man. It was a good assist for Maguire's goal last week. Brentford against Liverpool Saturday night. This is due to Liverpool playing away in Frankfurt on Wednesday. So under the Klopp rule, they can't play at 12:30, so they play at 8 o'clock. 1.26 for Brentford, 1.95 for Liverpool. So it looks at 2-1 win for Liverpool. It won't surprise me if that's higher scoring than that. I think Liverpool will be on the attack. Brentford look good in attack. Yeah, could be high scoring. Those that have got Salah, me included, you'll be hoping for good points there. Am I brave enough to put the captaincy on him? Probably not. He might not even be picked to start after what happened in midweek. We shall see. I think he probably will start if Isak's not fit, but you never know. Arsenal at 2.02 against Palace at 0.82. They've got 44% chance of a clean sheet. Arsenal, I think it could be. I mean, Palace played Larnaca and lost. This was last night. Arsenal have had 2 more days extra rest. You'd expect them to get the better of Palace, maybe 2-1, 1-0, something like that. Aston Villa against Man City, also at 2 o'clock on Sunday. Villa again played Thursday. Man City again played on Tuesday, so they're way behind on rest. They lost as well at Go Ahead Eagles of Holland in the Europa League. You would expect Man City to win, but you can't see them winning by. They might win by plenty, but it wouldn't surprise me if something like 1-2, 0-2, maybe 1-3. Haaland probably going to score again. He'll be everybody's captain, I imagine, on Sunday. Bournemouth against Forest. So this is Sean Dyche's Forest, who played against Porto in the Europa League yesterday and beat them 2-0. 2 penalties, clean sheet. So Dyche ball is back by the looks of it. Bournemouth 1.68, Forest 1.03. So 2-1 looks about right. It could well be it could even be 0-0 that game. But another one where Forest have played on Thursday. Bournemouth have had no fixture. Wolves v Burnley, battle of the relegation candidates by the looks of it. Wolves down at 1.39, a 40% chance for a clean sheet. Burnley 0.93 and 25% chance. Won't surprise me if it's a 0-0. Wolves, they've not been great. Burnley have been a lot better at home than away. I'd probably go for a 0-0, maybe a 1-0 either way. I can't imagine that's going to be the greatest game to watch of the Sunday 2 o'clocks. And then the 4:30 game, Everton against Tottenham. Tottenham were in Monaco in the Champions League this week. Got 0-0 draw. Vicario, something like 10 saves, I think. Everton, they've been better under Moyes, playing okay at home. Not surprisingly, that's just a 1-1 draw, Everton against Tottenham. So, right, we shall leave it there, everybody. Also say, enjoy the Leeds v West Ham with all of this talk of their set pieces. I wonder whether the Northampton v Saracens rugby game might be better. I did put a joke in one of the WhatsApp chats. All we need is a couple of lifters now on these long throws, and we've turned it into a proper rugby union line out. And then we will be back next Friday with Friday Night Live. Looking forward to Game Week 12. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please give the video a like. If you want to subscribe to the Patreon for the transfer planner, you'll find that over on patreon.com/Cloudy Sky Fantasy Football Show. And enjoy the football, enjoy the weekend, and we'll see you this time next week. All right. Cheers, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.